All right, today we're going to dive into a really powerful investment idea that honestly might not be on your radar yet, the strategic link between Brazil and Bangladesh. We're going to break down why this is way more than just an interesting thought. It's a huge and maybe overlooked opportunity for Brazilian businesses right now. Let's get into exactly why this connection is so compelling.
And look, let's be crystal clear from the get-go. Thinking of this as just some catchy slogan would be a big mistake. This is a serious, strategic proposition. We're talking about deploying Brazilian capital, technology, and know-how into one of the most dynamic manufacturing and consumer hubs in all of South Asia. So the big question is, why now? Well, it all comes down to this key phrase. Bangladesh is at an investable inflection point. What does that actually mean? For an investor, it's that magic moment, that critical window when a country is getting its economy stable, updating its investment rules, and building out its infrastructure. It's when the whole risk versus reward calculation starts to shift decisively in your favor. And this timeline, wow, it really puts a clock on it. See that date? November 24th, 2026. That's when Bangladesh is set to graduate from least developed country status. This is a massive deal. It's going to completely reshape trade agreements and government priorities, which means there's a huge advantage for the people who get in before this new era officially kicks off. Okay, but what do the fundamentals actually look like? What are the hard numbers telling us? Let's dive into the data, and we're going to look at both the amazing opportunities and, yes, the very real challenges you need to know about. First up, let's look at the engine of this whole economy. For the 2024-25 fiscal year, Bangladesh's total export earnings hit an incredible $55.1 billion. Now, that's not just a big number, it tells you a story. It says this is an economy deeply plugged into global supply chains, driven by exports. And what's powering all those exports? It's a sector that's growing at more than 8.8% year on year. We're talking about ready-made garments, or RMG. This is the dominant, battle-tested core of Bangladesh's manufacturing might, pulling in over $39 billion all by itself. Now, let's switch gears and talk about stability, because for any investor, you've got to know if there's a financial cushion. For fiscal year 2025, Bangladesh's gross international reserves are sitting at $26.8 billion. That is a crucial sign that the country's macroeconomic stability is improving. Of course, no investment case is worth its salt without a totally honest look at the risks, and this slide lays it all out. On the one hand, you have these incredible opportunities like that export strength and recovering growth, but on the other side of the coin, you have to be ready to manage some real challenges. High inflation, issues with governance, you can see that in its corruption perception rank, and yeah, some major logistics hurdles, with its main port ranking pretty low on a global scale. A smart strategy means seeing both sides clearly. So what's the future look like? Well, the IMS projections here paint a really clear picture. Yeah, growth did slow down, but look at that rebound. It's expected to bounce back to a really solid 4.7% in the next few years. So this isn't a story about explosive, unpredictable growth. It's a narrative of steady, stable recovery. Okay, so the opportunity is there. The numbers are pointing in the right direction. But how do you actually do it? Let's stop talking about the what and start talking about the how. Let's look at the real, practical playbooks for getting into this market. There are basically three main strategies to think about. First, you can use Bangladesh as a platform to manufacture your products and then export them to the rest of the world. Second, you can aim directly at the growing domestic market in Bangladesh itself. And third, you can get involved in building out the country's infrastructure through what are called public-private partnerships, or PPPs. Now, for a lot of manufacturers, the absolute fastest way to get up and running is through this idea, the EPZ, or economic zone. The best way to think about these is like special, self-contained industrial parks. They're designed to roll out the red carpet for you with things like tax holidays, utilities that are ready to plug into, and way simpler customs. It's all about de-risking your investment and getting you started fast. Now for the really exciting part. Where do Brazil's unique strengths perfectly line up with Bangladesh's biggest needs? Let's pinpoint the sectors where there's a natural synergy, where what Brazil does best is exactly what's in demand. And this table just gives us a fantastic snapshot. I mean, just look at these numbers. Textiles and apparel, we're talking about a nearly $40 billion export machine. Pharmaceuticals, a $6 billion domestic market that's already exporting to more than 150 countries. Agribusiness, a $7.3 billion packaged food market that's just a perfect fit for Brazil's expertise. And even renewable energy, driven by all those export factories that need to go green. These aren't just vague ideas. These are solid, investable numbers. So you're interested. You see the potential. What's the next step? How do you actually make that first connection? Well, this is where a really key organization comes into the picture.
And to really understand why investment is the natural next move, just look at the trade that's already happening. Bangladesh is already importing a massive $2.66 billion worth of stuff from Brazil, but it's only exporting $187 million back. This isn't a relationship that has to be built from scratch. It's a huge commercial highway that's just waiting for investors to build the factories and services right where the demand already is.
The key facilitator, the group that can make this happen for you, is the Brazil-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or the BBCII. They are literally the bridge. They can do everything from finding you the right business partners and giving you market intelligence to actually helping facilitate your investment and giving you advice. They are the practical connection.
So, let's bring this all together. The trade corridor is wide open. Bangladesh is standing right at a critical turning point with a clear deadline for major change just around the corner. For Brazilian investors who are searching for that next big frontier, the question really isn't if you should be looking at this opportunity, it's when are you going to make your move?